No, because I wanted to do this. I just wanted to continue working in probation.
Oh, you just wanted to be a probation?
Yeah, I was good. That was my job.
That was your
I
job.
loved it. It was great. It was Leo that really got me on the whole entrepreneurial mindset, right?
Was that a hard sell?
I was a worker bee. That's it.
Was that a hard sell?
Yeah.
It was a hard sell. I was a bad kid in school, always getting in fights and suspended. And my school's like, you have two options. I either take a social worker or you're getting kicked out.
Again, every job opportunity I went to turned me down. It's like, why is this happening? I would get down to the third interview and I would not get the job.
So I'm very pleased to have the other half of the Francis5 properties, the prettier half, Jacqueline Francis, on with me. How are you, Jacqueline?
Hi, how's it going?
I'm so happy you can make it out.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
It was a crazy snowy day.
Yeah, we weren't expecting that, but you know what? It's through the storms that we can sometimes shine, right?
There you go. Thanks so much for coming on. I know we've been meaning to get together and jump on this podcast, and I'd love to get to know you.
Absolutely.
I love to get to know you. Love to get to know what you guys are doing. You know, we had Leo on. He told us a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm very inspired by him.
Yeah.
You know,
he's a very inspiring guy.
At 23 years old, and he, like, I told him at 23, I was not thinking about those things, right? So you guys have been together for a while.
We have, yes.
Tell me, how long have you guys been together?
We met in 1998. I was 17 at the time.
Wow.
And we started dating, and we pretty much haven't looked back since.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been a journey.
Amazing. So you've seen it all.
Yeah.
You've seen the World War I, World War II, World War III. You've seen the struggle, the grind, the good times.
We've been through our evolution.
I would say.
Yeah.
I would say 1998. That was when like Jay-Z was coming out. The best of me, Maya song came out. Yeah, I remember those times. That's amazing. Like, and you know what? That is inspiring on its own. You know, to have a relationship last and still be fluent and great for that long. Like, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work, right? And you guys have beautiful children.
Yes, we have three.
Three beautiful children. And I know Leo touched on that. And that's how we got the Francis5, right? So
exactly, yeah.
And I always thought it was about the properties, but now it makes sense.
Yes.
You know, now that's why you got to ask these questions. So let me ask you the $1 million question.
Yes.
How did you guys meet?
Okay, it was, I had a friend that was attending a high school in Toronto.
Okay.
And so I had gone to this high school dance, and I had met this other girl, and we hit it off at the dance, and we exchanged numbers and started hanging out. And then one day she was like, come to my school after. I was going on a school trip, so I said, okay, let me come and hang out with you after school. And then I met her, and she's like, oh, do you want to meet my boyfriend and his cousin? I was like, yeah, okay, sure. Leo was the cousin.
Okay.
Leo was the cousin. And then fast forward a couple months, she started to tell me, hey, you know what? Remember that guy, my boyfriend's cousin, he wants your number.
Oh.
You know, call him. Is it okay if I give it to him? And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. The funny thing was, she was telling Leo the same thing. She was like, remember that girl? She wants your number.
So she was matchmaking.
Yeah, without even realizing what she was doing. I mean, we found this out later. And then, you know, we ended up talking on the phone, and that was it. It was just inseparable after that.
Wow, match made in heaven, eh?
Yeah.
Back then, it was so formal, too. It's like, you got to make sure, like, can I get your phone number? And,
yeah,
and it was like,
that's all we had, pagers and like.
And it's like you're calling the house phone back then, right? So
it was different times, but you know, and we seen it all.
That's amazing. So you've seen like a little bit of the stuff that we talked about with
100%.
him and like him buying his first property and
you
know, his parents not knowing and he's trying to get them to move to Pickering at that
Yeah,
time.
and it was a challenge. I mean, he's always had an entrepreneurial mindset. He's always thought ahead of his time. Even when I met him, it was very different. He is younger than me, but I never realized that because his mind was just so advanced, right?
And I was telling him that at 23, I was not thinking about properties.
Yeah,
So that's amazing to think about that. And like,
yeah.
how did you guys make it last so long and be so happy? Like this is a very good question because right now, you know, the divorce rates are high and everything
Yes.
is high right now, and people are just unhappy with the smallest certain things and they don't want to work on things. So it takes two
It does.
to make things work, right? So who was the fire and who's the water in the relationship?
I think we've both played that part.
Yeah, okay.
I think that Leo's done an amazing job with just letting me be me.
That's amazing.
And same with myself, just allowing that space between us. Because we went through the whole, you know, we need to be around each other 24 hours, talk to each other 24 hours. Like, we did that.
The dating times.
Yeah, we did that, right?
You hang up. No, you hang
Yeah,
up.
right? Falling asleep on the phone at like 5 in the morning before school.
Mom's like, why is the phone
Yeah.
off the hook?
Right.
Yeah.
And then, you know, then we had my son, and that changed.
How old were you guys when you had your first?
I was 25, turning 26.
25.
Yeah, so 2005.
Still pretty young.
2006.
Still
Yeah.
pretty 25. That was
2006.
a game changer, eh?
It was, yeah. It was what really sealed our relationship. I think that came at a perfect time. And that changed who we both were in the relationship. And that gave us a better sense of a future together and where we wanted to go. Because, I mean, you just date, you know, you don't really think about what is next.
Yeah.
When you're
yeah.
17, 18,
when you're 17, 18,
20,
it's
no.
like you don't know what's going to happen
You
tomorrow,
don't know.
right?
You don't know.
And that's amazing. So at that time, you're like, okay, this is the right guy.
Yeah.
He's the one.
Yeah.
And having the first child, it probably gave you the sense of purpose right away.
Yes.
At 25 years old, and you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
we're already pretty mature.
Yeah.
Now we need
Now we have a family. Like,
now
we
we
gotta
need
make
to
this
figure
work.
this all out.
Yeah.
And that's
exactly.
a lot. at
It did.
25.
I mean, for both of us, I was the first one though out of like my friend group that had a child, so it was a little harder. I found for me because everybody was going out and partying, and I was being excluded. Right? I had this child to take care of.
Yeah.
But for Leo, it was so different because he was already not in that scene. He wasn't going out. People would ask him, and he'd be like, "No, you know, I gotta work. I gotta do other things." So he was never a guy that loved to go out and party or to see himself doing anything but like working, so to speak. And having my son at the time really just kind of like, how do you say, manned up, like, right?
Yeah,
it was
that-
like, this is my future, this is my legacy. I have a boy to take after my name. I gotta like make sure.
Yeah, ready, a good role model.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what? That is lacking nowadays, I find a little bit.
Yeah.
Some people are not stepping up to the plate,
Yeah.
and it's amazing that at those times there was a little bit less of that. Like there's a lot more people stepping up to the plate, take care of their offspring, their children, and say, okay, I got to be a good role model. But at 25, having a kid, you know, did you guys think about real estate at that time? You weren't really thinking about that stuff. Right?
No,
You were just,
I wasn't.
You,
No. So Leo put that into my head because at the time I was just having my son. My parents had just moved to Pickering, and he had just bought that house.
Oh, so your parents moved to Pickering.
Yeah, my parents
and
had
then
just
he bought a
moved.
house
And
after.
then, yes,
and
then
that's how
bought
he
the
got
house
the
out.
idea.
Yeah. So then I knew he
Okay,
was
we're
doing
putting
all
it
this
all
stuff.
together.
Yeah, he was doing all this stuff, and I was like, why are you buying this house? And, you know, I knew the whole story with wanting the family to just live in a better part of the city. And he had this great vision of just taking everything that they did in Toronto and moving it to a better life, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's the suburbs, it was further, but like imagine the opportunity that this held for everybody.
And it's massive. Like I watch a lot of Jordan Peterson, and I watch a lot of these inspirational guys talking about and having these speeches. It's like the most important thing for a child is where they grow up.
100%. Exactly.
The most important thing is where they grew up.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't matter how good the child is, if they're in a bad environment,
Ooh,
they have so many things against them.
of course, they're already losing.
Yeah.
Right? It's
And
their mind that really has to push them through. But if all the odds are against you, especially in your environment, the most safest place that you're supposed to be, what are you going to fall victim to, right?
Exactly. And so saying that, that's why he bought the house in Pickering.
Yeah, he was
and
very
he was
family
ahead of his
oriented.
time at that time.
100%.
Thinking about those things.
Yeah.
Were you nervous?
I didn't know what to expect because I didn't really want to live there at the time, right? Because I was like, I don't want to leave my mom and my dad's house. But I knew it was going to be for something greater, right?
Yeah.
And we rode through that, and I would go there on the weekends, and we'd spend every weekend there. And then it got to a point where, the family was like, no, like it was just him and his mom. And he was like, okay, I gotta do something with it. He didn't want to sell it, right? So he was like, I'm just gonna get tenants. So we had a friend who was a realtor at the time, and she was a realtor for a while. So her knowledge really like helped us, or helped Leo, to know things about the market that we wouldn't just, anybody wouldn't just know. So that was great. Got tenants in there, and then we went through that whole, but again, real estate wasn't like, for me, it wasn't like a thing yet, right? It wasn't anything. It was just like, okay, great, he's doing this. Okay, he's buying another condo, sure, because that was the thing to do, buy condos. That's what everyone did, buy condo.
Yeah. It was a fad.
yeah, exactly. And then I was working at the government at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a probation officer with the Ministry of Children and Youth Services.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved working with youth. I loved that whole like law aspect. I loved being in court. I thought that was going to be...
You love being in court.
Yeah,
that's
being in
interesting.
On the other side of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do not love being in court. Don't ever take me to court.
On the other side of it.
Yeah. No, from the other side, it's really rewarding. You're a youth probation officer.
Yeah.
And that must have been really rewarding to help the youth.
It was, because I looked like them, so I looked young.
Yeah.
So I found it really easy for the kids to open up to me and really gain their trust. So that was really good, because I had an easy time with being able to manage them through probation and just encourage them. And I think now that I look back, this is where my first experience with coaching sort of began.
I see.
If I tie it back to that.
Your initial stages that led you to. Of course, it makes sense. And you know what? I gotta say something good about people that are like social workers.
Yeah.
Because I was a bad kid in school.
Okay.
And it wasn't my fault, ladies and gentlemen, but they always say that. But I was a bad kid in school, always getting in fights and suspended. And my school's like, you have two options. I either take a social worker or you're getting kicked out.
Right.
I'm like, I'd rather take the social worker. So they gave me a social worker for one period. So I had one period off.
Okay.
And I had a social worker come in. This guy was an ex-gang member.
Ooh, interesting.
Turned into a social worker.
Okay.
An ex-gang member in Toronto. So he used to come every week and talk to me about, okay, tell me how you feel. And at first, I'm 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, you're like, why are you talking about this?
But the one thing that he said to me that I'll never forget, he's like, the first thing that he asked me when we had our proper session, he's like, what are you afraid of? And I'm 15, 16-year-old punk kid. I'm like, nothing. He's like, oh, okay. So when you cross the street, you don't look both ways? I'm like, you crazy? I'm not trying to get hit by a car. So you are afraid of something.
Wow.
So that right there made me understand that, like, hey, sometimes it's okay to open up to someone and get some help. You know what I mean? Because you can't sometimes do it at home.
Yeah. No.
Sometimes you can't do it with your family and this and that.
Well, that's where you build up the walls, because you can't do it at home.
You can't do it at home. And then your frustration, it resonates other ways, right?
Exactly.
And going back to you being a probation officer, you probably had that with kids that couldn't open up at home.
Yeah, I did see that.
And they were like feeling like they were gonna burst.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The only way they could actually let it out is let it out that way of anger and
Yeah.
frustration and
Getting into trouble,
getting
and
into trouble. And
that's why they landed there, right? But
and I understand that because I was that child. I was that kid. I was the one that had a probation officer.
Yeah.
So I know
Yeah.
that. Like I know that upbringing of frustration and not being able to talk to your father or your mother about your problems because you came from a traditional tough it up,
Yep.
tough it up, tough it
Yeah.
up.
Guys don't cry.
Guys don't cry, men don't cry. That
Yeah.
was the
No.
thing, right? So it must have been super rewarding when you were getting through to these kids
Yeah. It
and
was.
and being like, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
I'm like you.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
grew up like you.
Yeah.
Open up to me. I can
Yeah.
help you.
Exactly. And it's just listening and validating. Sometimes they just needed someone to listen and to hear who they are, right? You're just being present with them rather than trying to come off like I'm a police officer. Like, what are you here for? Okay, tell me this. Like, no, that wasn't my
Yeah.
style, right?
And you
It's
know,
like, let's calm. Let's just be chill. Tell me what's going on.
and that's the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like if you come off with the authority figure,
Yeah.
you're gonna
Didn't
have a
work.
child that's very standoffish. You're gonna
Yeah.
have a kid that's standoffish. Even like as parents,
Yes.
he's like, I'm the parent.
Yeah.
The-
What I say goes.
The kid's gonna be like, okay, no. You know what I mean? Like,
sometimes.
but if you try to befriend them, you can
Yeah.
reach them in a different level.
Of
right?
course. And especially, remember, like, they're already having this wall with authority because they've seen, they've been in the system, they've been through the cycles of dealing with police and police making them feel a certain way or other probation officers or the courts. So they're already like, I have nothing to say. Why am I here, right? So it's getting through to them. It's letting them know you're safe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can talk to me. I'm not like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's the thing. Trust is a big thing when you've grown up hard.
yeah.
I know that personally, and being able to trust people and being able to open up to people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Vulnerability
And
is huge.
it's like when I was a kid, I was an angry kid.
Yeah.
I was not fun loving and laughing and happy. I was angry because everybody else had it in my mind better than me.
Of course. Yeah.
And I was just angry that they did and I didn't.
Right.
And it's like, it's not fair.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
it's like, what did I do to deserve what I get? And
Yeah.
what did you do? You did nothing and you get it. And I do everything and I don't get it. So being a part of that and helping these kids, that probably started getting the things rolling in your head to thinking, hey, maybe I want to do this in the future, right?
Yeah,
Like with the
that-
mindset and
No, because I wanted to do this. I just want to continue working in probation.
oh, you just wanted to be a probation?
Yeah, I was good. That was my job.
That was your
I
job.
loved it. It was great. It was Leo that really got me on the whole entrepreneurial mindset, right?
Was that a hard
I was
sell?
a worker bee. That's it.
Was that a hard sell?
Yeah.
It was a hard
sell. It was a hard sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, he's a visionary and he saw something that I didn't see at the time. So the reason I had to leave was I was pregnant and with my second child, and I was on contract. So there was not a permanent position.
So there's no maternity leave.
Yeah, there was no
Oh.
maternity leave, right? Only EI, which was fine, but I couldn't go back
Oh.
because there was no permanant position.
Oh, because it was a contract.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then I was trying to get other contracts. It wasn't working out. I was so frustrated. I tried to go to CAS because that was my second option, Children Aid Service.
Children Aid
Because
Society, yeah.
I went to school for social work. So
Oh,
I'm
okay,
qualified.
okay.
I know
Yeah.
how to do this.
Yeah.
Again, every job opportunity I went to turned me down. And I was like, why is this happening? I would get down to the third interview and I would not get the job. And I felt so down on myself. I didn't know it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this happening to me? Why me? I'm qualified enough. But there was a bigger picture that I didn't
Everything
see.
happens for a reason.
Yes.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
And like, I've been there too, where I was getting turned down by jobs and I was like, I'm hired. I'm more educated than this job. You know, like I'm
have
just
the
doing
experience.
this like as a bridge job. And
Yeah.
why are you turning me down? And it just doesn't make sense.
Does
But
that make sense? No?
but everything is for a reason, and I believe that.
Everything's for our growth
and
and expansion.
exactly. And if it wasn't for those jobs turning you down, you probably wouldn't have done The
No,
you probably wouldn't have the
100%.
entrepreneurial mind that you have
Because
now.
then Leo was like, he just started driving. So he was like, well, I need someone to do the invoices and to fax, because it was fax machines at those times,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then I started like doing the little paperwork here and there. And then I just fell into working for him, working with him. And then it was like our thing. He would drive, and then he'd come home, bring me all the invoices. I would, invoice the people. And that was like my little like job, right?
And that's the best way. Like
Yeah.
that's the best way. Like my wife is my partner too.
Yeah.
And same situation, when my son was born, and I was like, she was working.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, I'd rather stay home. And I'm like, well, why don't you help me out with the Airbnbs,
Okay.
and that stuff. And she'd arrange the cleaners and all that stuff. And
Okay.
so it's great. That's partnership, right? Like that's
Yes.
helping one another, right?
Yeah.
Like I got your back.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
You're tired, I'll take care of the kids, or you're tired,
Yeah.
you take care of the kids. And taking care of the kids is a job on its own.
Yeah. 100%.
That's a full-time job.
I know. Exactly.
It's not as easy as sometimes we're like, oh, it's easier than work, and then you get home and like, oh no, it's not.
Yeah, because they're
It's,
like this, that. You've been with
yeah.
them all day. They talk all day.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta like,
Mood
depending
swings.
on their stage of life, the
Yeah.
naps, the diaper changing, the feeding, the food, all of the things,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
However, we played our roles, right?
Mhm.
Leo was the provider. He
Mhm.
he gave us an amazing life, and he still does.
Yeah.
And I owe everything that we have to, in our relationship to him, and for having that vision. And I got to stay home. Like I got to stay home. I was there when the kids had, field trips, or they needed
Amazing.
parents to
Yeah.
come in, right? I was one of the parents that would volunteer, and I'd show up, and I was always there, which was amazing. I got to go shopping during the day when I wasn't working.
Yeah. And you know what? And that's fine. And that is its like,
Yeah.
full-time job on its own. And like my wife the same. And it's work. It's a lot of work for the kids. And making kids happy, when they're young,
Yeah,
it's
a lot
hard.
of attention, right?
And even when they get older, it's different stages,
It is.
different
It
different demands, and different stuff that you have
Yes,
to
yeah.
worry about.
Yeah.
So that's great. So you got out of it. He got you into the entrepreneurial
Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah.
And then
I fought him though, because I was like, no, I need to go. I need to go get a job. Let me go find this job. And he's like, no, like, how do you expect us to? And I mean, this is just for our family, right?
Mhm.
He wanted us to, first of all, work together, because if we fought, we couldn't do anything. We can't like not talk to each other next day because we had business to take care of, right? Motive
that's
number
smart.
one. Yeah. And then he just didn't feel good with other people raising our kids. Like,
Well, and
he's
what,
gone all the time working.
And
right?
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And I said the same thing to my wife. I got to work 36 hours. I'm going to work 36 hours a day. I don't care. I just want you to raise the children.
Yes.
And I know you'll do like she does an amazing job at it. And she does it like an OG.
Yeah.
With no complaints and no nothing. And sometimes I just come home to eat and
Yeah.
you gotta go.
Yeah.
So she takes care of all that side, and that alone is a job. But when the kids got older, you're probably like, hey, I want to get more involved in the entrepreneurial stuff, right? And the when in the courses and getting into the houses and stuff like that, right? So the educational stuff, right?
It kind of all just fell into place. Right?
Like,
so
yeah.
it's never something that I wanted.
Oh.
But then he was like, he came home one day, he's like, hey, I heard this thing on the radio. Do you want to like come with me? I was like, okay, let's go. Like, we can have a date for the afternoon, right? Sure, this sounds fun.
Yeah.
I always went along with the ideas. I always supported whatever he wanted to do because I knew that everything that he touched turns to gold. And I went, and then I was like, whoa, what is this stuff? They're telling us we don't need to pay off our mortgage, that, there's a better way to make money. All of these things that I learned growing up went out the door.
And that you're right, 100%. You're right. 9-to-5ers.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to say the stuff that we're taught in schools to be 9-to-5ers.
Yes, we're taught to be a worker. That's
Yeah,
what school is.
We're
I'm
just
sorry.
taught. Yeah, we're just taught to look within the framework.
Yes.
And don't look outside the framework. Don't look
Nope.
outside the box.
Nope.
Don't ask questions.
Nope.
And I actually read a study that the kids that were C students, that were B or C students, did better in life.
Yes.
Because they were not argumentative. They were always they were always looking for other routes
Yeah.
instead of, okay, well, the teacher said this. I'm like, well, why can't I do it this way?
Right. They didn't fit in the box.
Yeah, why can't I do it that way? Like, and that's the thing. Like, school teaches you to be a certain way, obedient worker.
Yes.
9 to 5.
Period.
Work hard, get your education,
To
go
get a
work,
job.
To get a job.
To get a job. That's what school teaches you
It
to
doesn't.
do.
It doesn't teach you how to be an entrepreneur.
No, it does not.
And life could be cool, teaching you how to be an entrepreneur.
Of course. Because
And
if you don't have the mindset to keep going when things get tough, what are you going to do? You can't just give up. This is your own business.
Exactly.
You started this.
Yeah, exactly. And going through those courses were eye-opening for you and Leo. And
It was.
Like he was telling me earlier, like, you guys learned so much through
Yeah.
these courses. And
Yeah.
you branched off to learn about other OPM, other people's money.
Yeah, 100%.
And learned how you gained some valuable relationships
Yeah.
in those courses. And you have partnerships
Yeah.
through those courses. And imagine you never took those courses.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
how would your life have differed, right?
Whew.
You know, like, and that's the thing. You have to invest in yourself.
Yes. Yes, you do.
You know, you have to invest in yourself. And I know you're a mindset coach now.
Yes.
So how important is it to invest in your education, in your, you know, health, in your, you know, your relationships? How important is it as a mindset coach? Is this stuff that you talk to people about?
Yes, because you are the only person that you have at the end of the day. You can have your family, you can have, you know, your kids, but it's you, and you need to take care of yourself. And if you're not doing that, whether it's through education, whether it's through health, the food you use, the relationships that you cultivate, then what do you stand for? Like Leo always says, if you do not stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
100%.
Right? You need to get to know yourself. And people forget that it's not the things outside of you that need to change.
Mm-hmm.
It's the thing within you. All the change and everything that you desire comes from within. And
Mm-hmm.
once you start to make those changes, things around you start to change.
100%.
Right?
And I noticed that with my own life. I used to be a negative person.
Yeah.
And I used to look at the glass half empty and not half full. And I always, you know, like, if you're around people that have self-pity and sympathy for themselves, you start becoming like that.
Of course you do.
You know when your parents tell you, you are who you hang out with. And
Yes.
when you're younger, you're like, whatever, I'm not going to ditch my friends. You know?
They mean everything to me.
They're my friends, right?
Yeah.
But then you realize, like, you know, if you don't change your mindset, your life won't change.
100%.
You won't take any opportunities in life.
Yeah.
You know, you won't even know if it's an opportunity
Right.
because you're just so negative.
Well, you're so programmed. We are programmed. We live on autopilot every single day with the same thoughts, the same feelings. Our body is just naturally conditioned to believe and think a certain way. Most of the thoughts people have are 95% negative.
And it's unfortunate, but it's correct. It's unfortunate, but it's correct. Like, if you're around a negative person and you tell them a good idea, they're always going to give you. They're always going to give you a reason that it's not going to work.
It's not gonna, of course, yeah.
And you got to understand that maybe they're coming from. Maybe they're not malicious about it, but maybe they're just coming from a perspective of they don't think it would work for them.
That's exactly what it is.
And they're projecting it upon you.
That is what it is. People usually feel that things won't work out for them.
Mm-hmm.
So then they will look at it from that perspective and tell you, no, it's not going to work out for you too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we bond over the thing not working. Or you go and have a conversation with someone and it starts off like, oh my God, I was late in traffic. Can you believe this happened? And now you're jumping in, telling me all the bad things and all the wrong things that happened today in your life, and now we're commiserating in this ball of energy, of negative energy.
Yeah, and
right?
that's exactly what happens, right? You are going to actually, if you're around bad apples,
Yeah.
you're gonna
Be a bad apple.
become a bad apple. You know,
Yes,
around
yes.
good apples. You know, like at the end of the day, you got to make sure you're around the right people. And sometimes it's better to be alone than to be around the wrong people.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard to be alone. But I find anybody that can do it alone can do
Powerful.
anything. You know what I
Powerful,
mean?
yeah.
Because if you need a posse or a group around you, then you're not as strong as you think you are.
Exactly. Because you're following the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to stand on your own 2 feet
Exactly.
in this world to make anything happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't be following the crowd. You've got to be different. That is where innovation starts from. Creativity comes from all of us. But,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we take that away from our day to day. We forget what that's like
Exactly.
to live in color,
Of course.
right? Life
of
isn't
course.
just black and white.
No, no. And we're all programmed that way, and it takes a long time to deprogram yourself.
It does.
From the matrix, as they say.
It does, but it can happen, right?
It can happen.
It can
And
happen.
it's your mindset. And I think it starts with eating good.
Yeah.
It starts with going to the gym.
Yes.
It starts
yes.
with having positive reinforcements around you.
Yes.
Right? And
Investing into yourself, taking a course. So if we did not we wanted to get into multifamily. So if we were not seeking the things that like other multifamily courses, we're not going to learn about multifamily taking a course on flipping a single family home, right?
Yeah.
That we had to go out seeking the things. So that's the action piece. We could want all the things, but if we're not taking the action, then we're not going to get anywhere, right?
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And like you guys started with the Key Spire was probably single family, and then you got into different courses that were multifamily.
Well, honestly, we wanted to be passive investors.
Oh.
When we joined Keyspire, we're like, we're just going to do this passively. We're just going to lend out our money. This is perfect. We're good. Because at the time, the trucking company was growing. The kids were small. We didn't want to invest anything more than what we were already doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we took the course for a year, and then we're like, thank you. This is not for us anymore. See you later. But then in 2019, like, even though we're entrepreneurs, like he was always working. So you're still not getting your time back, even though it's your own business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you're doing more work. You're there 24 hours. So he's gone all day. Saturday, he's got to wash the trucks, get them greased. So it's Sunday, the one day we have family time or time for us, and there's 1,000 things to do in the one day before it starts again on Monday.
Yeah.
So then he's like, let's revisit this real estate thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay. So still, again, real estate to me was like, sure, okay, whatever. This was great. I learned all this wonderful knowledge. What am I doing with it? Then in 2019, he's like, let's do it, but let's take this a little bit more seriously. We learned all this. What can we do with this? Because I want to get my time back. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. We contacted a few people we had made relationships with back in 2016. And just by making that simple decision, we got offered the opportunity to invest in a multifamily apartment building, right? It was a mixed-use commercial. So we're like, wow, this is incredible. Going into 2020,
wow,
purchased it, and pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a good learning experience, but we had this property now. And we went through that year in 2021. We're like, okay, how can we be better? How can we show up differently?
Mm-hmm.
Because during that time, we were the people in the back of the room hiding, okay, never wanting to, this would have never happened, right? Like, through the things that you go through, you become a different person. You take on a different identity. But you need to in order to elevate and keep growing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You can't stay the same and expect new results.
No,
Something
it's
has
insanity.
to change.
It's
Yeah.
insanity. It's like banging your head off the wall and
Right?
expecting for the different outcome of it, right? And that's amazing. Like coming back to it,
Yeah.
and you realize that time is of the essence,
Yes.
right? And that's what we discussed a little bit with Leo. How can we buy our time, right?
Yeah.
And what is the best way to get ahead?
Yes.
And investments in real estate, stocks and bonds. I never really got into stocks, and I never really got into that stuff. But those are options that people they use, right?
Yes.
Some of them use it passively, right? Like you were before, and some are active in it now that you are now. Can change into the active side of things.
That switched for us quickly. After we're like, okay, we got to be active now. Forget this passive stuff. We got to get down.
The reason is because you were trying to get your time back, right? And now you're active, and now you're thinking, okay, I'm getting my time back. Actually, you got more work because now you're doing your full time and you're doing this. Yeah. But you know that there's an escape, right?
Yes.
You're working towards the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, exactly.
And that light is, okay, these properties will eventually pay me.
Yes. That is the goal. That is the end result, right?
Exactly.
So we have to put in the work now. You guys had talked earlier about sacrificing, and there's always going to have to be a sacrifice at some point in your life, right? And let's make sure that's the beginning, okay? And not like later on. So we do all of these things now knowing that, you know what, when the kids get older, if they don't want to go and pursue their own things, we have a company. We have a few companies that they could work for. We can employ them right away. That's a great feeling.
Oh, that's
to
amazing
know,
feeling. That's
right?
and you're ahead of the mold. Like a lot of people can't offer that. Like my parents, they were struggling. They couldn't offer that to me, and a lot of people's parents struggle. They can't offer that to their kids, and we always try to make our kids' life better in our lives,
100%.
right?
We do.
And I'm looking at my kid, and he's got these Nikes, he's got Jordans, he's got this and that. I'm like, damn, man. I got my first Jordans when I was 20. Like it was like I know I don't like I remember seeing Jordans. I remember window shopping and like you know.
That
and
was
I
Leo
like,
too. He's like, I never bought $300 pair of shoes. Right?
And now like you can't help but like spoil them. And sometimes you gotta like hold back on it.
You do. You don't want them to feel entitled, but you do want to be able to make sure that you can. I mean, I think that's the need within us, right? To try to give them things that we felt we lacked or we didn't have and that we wanted.
Exactly. And it's not even that. It's the time you want to get back with them. Yeah. Like it's like times that you miss with them, I feel guilty. When I miss time with my kids or my wife, I feel guilty about it and I make it up like, okay, let's go shopping. Or like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, like go have a spa day or do, you know what I mean? Like, but it shouldn't be like that.
It shouldn't be a feeling of guilt.
It shouldn't be like that. It should be like, okay, I should be able to make the time for you. But when you're an entrepreneur, and this is going to the 9-to-5ers, it's not you set your own schedule.
Yeah.
And you could just go based on that schedule all the time.
Right.
Certain things happen.
Of course, yeah. You never know where it's going to take. That one phone call where the client's telling you, oh, I want to see this house, could turn into them putting in an offer right there on the spot. So now this has opened up another, like, the rest of the night for you to go do this negotiation back and forth,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And with Leo's business, God forbid, a truck breakdown or something.
Oh, my gosh. We've been there.
You know,
okay, on a Friday night
a truck
at
breakdown.
5 o'clock.
Yeah.
In rush hour,
oh my God.
in Hamilton,
oh my God,
or in St. Catharines, wherever they were driving, and he gets the call, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta go here, or I've got to organize now to get like those mobile truck repair
and those
to come
and those tow trucks are probably very expensive.
Yes, yeah.
And the mobile repair, I could just imagine how expensive that is.
We've been there. So then now he's like, his whole night's gone dealing with this thing, and then the next day's gone because now he's driving all over the city trying to find parts.
Oh my God.
You know,
and this is the stuff that 9-to-5ers kind of don't understand.
No.
You think it's freedom on this side. It's not freedom.
Yeah.
It's freedom from 9
the
to
9
5.
to 5, yeah. The chain of the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But there's pros and cons, right?
There is.
People who work 9 to 5, they go and they do their job and they're satisfied with it and they can go home. They can go sit on the couch, they can watch Netflix, they can go shopping, they can do whatever they need to do.
They're off on the weekends.
Yeah, and maybe they're just content with that, and that's amazing for them, right? But with that comes the inability to understand when I think things go wrong, because I think people who work 9 to 5 don't have the mindset to maneuver life the way entrepreneurs do.
And I agree with you. I completely agree with you. I've had friends that don't know how to change a tire on their car. And they used to be laughing at me working at a mechanic shop when I was younger.
Wow.
Oh, you're working at a mechanic shop.
Yeah, why are you doing this?
You got an education. Why are you working at a mechanic shop, right? And they're dressed up going to their office job. But who are they calling when their tire blows out? Oh, Manny, bro, my tire blew out on the highway. What should I do? Open your trunk, lift it up. There's a tire in there. There's a wrench. Can you help me? I've never done it before. Well, what happened to your job when you were working in an office and this and that, and you're downplaying? So what I learned through these experiences, don't ever downplay anybody's hustle, because you never know when you're gonna need them.
100%.
And you never know when they can help you or assist you, and you learn something through every job. I've done office jobs, I've done manual jobs, labor jobs, and I could tell you 100% that I learned more manual work in manual work,
Mm-hmm.
then labor jobs, then I've learned from office jobs. Office jobs, you kind of learn it a lot in school.
Yes, yeah, it's more
time
mechanical.
framing
Yeah.
and discipline and
Mm-hmm.
time frames and this and that.
Yeah.
But when you're on the field doing a labor job,
You're in there. It's you.
you got a problem right now,
Yeah.
solve it.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out a solution.
That's right.
So, and that's what's lacking with the 9 to 5, or sometimes they just have to give it to the manager or give it to the supervisor,
Yeah.
right? And they don't have to worry about it.
And I think too, it's like they don't allow themselves to dream bigger, because then they don't feel like they can get more, because they're like, well, this is all I can get. I'm only getting this 40, 50K. Well, I'd love to do this, but not realizing there's an and.
Well, there's a fear, right? Like you look at the person in the mirror, and there's a fear there. They did a test with ants. This is funny. They had white piece of paper.
Okay.
They got there was a bunch of ants. They made with a Sharpie. They made a circle,
Okay.
a black circle. So the ants were going to that black circle, coming back.
Oh, no way.
And so they made a smaller circle.
Okay.
The ants were going to that circle, coming back.
Wow.
So the mentality of the ants were, okay, this is all I can do. This circle.
Yes. I
So
see
that's
that.
what we create those circles
do.
in our mind.
Well, we create the limits. We
Yeah.
are our own limit.
And that's the thing. And when you're in that cycle, and all the people you know are in that cycle,
Yeah.
you're just like,
Yeah.
okay, this is normal.
Yeah.
This is
And
normal.
you just keep moving along, right?
And I have friends myself that are working in a 9 to 5, and they're very talented.
Yeah.
And if they did their own business, they'd make 3 or 4 times more money. But convincing them,
Yeah. To do
To
it on
do
their
it,
own. Yeah.
it's one feat. Convincing their wife to allow them to do it,
Right. 'Cause
or
there's
their family
security.
to let them do it. The security.
Security.
They're afraid of
this
that.
is perfect. You get this paycheck. Everything's covered for. We can
Mm-hmm.
save, and that's good. We don't need to do anything more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you take on the fear of, well, what if the business fails? What if this? What if that? And all of those what ifs
Mm-hmm.
just stew in them, and then that fear is created, and it's so intense that they cannot look past that fear, so they don't take action.
And that's the thing. And a lot of people take the initial steps, but they don't take the actions.
But what's on the other side of fear?
Success.
Yes. More success, greater success.
Well, the grass is greener on the other side.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. You gotta water your own grass.
Sometimes.
Though.
But if you don't take the chance,
Yeah.
you won't know.
You will never know
You know,
what's
like-
for you.
Exactly. And my mentality back then was like, okay, save.
Yeah.
My mentality now, I'm going to throw a million things at the wall.
Yeah.
Something will stick.
Something always sticks,
Yeah.
right?
So something will stick, and it'll make up for the
It will.
100,000 things that didn't stick.
Well, we talked about you and Leo talked about success before, and what people see. They don't see the late nights, early
No.
mornings. They see the 7 dump trucks. They see the buildings. They see what they want to see, right? But that's with everybody who's successful. I don't think, any of these basketball players or football players or, Steve Jobs just became who they are, right?
No.
It's cultivating, it's going through many losses, failing companies to get to where you are.
Experiences. And Jeff Bezos
Growth.
started in a garage
There you go.
at Amazon.
With-
And people were laughing at him,
Right.
right? So the whole,
And it's who you become in the process.
yeah, it's true. Absolutely true. And the whole message here is don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up, and follow your dreams, follow your desires, do something you enjoy doing,
Yeah.
because you'll be better at it.
Yes, exactly. And
And-
be around people that will support your dreams.
100%.
Because there are a lot of people that that have buried their dreams, and they will give you a shovel to bury yours real quick.
Oh, I know.
Right.
I'm from Hamilton. That shovel has been around the city a long time.
How does that saying goes? You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So get around rooms where you are not the smartest person, and you could learn, you could grow and become that 6th person.
And that's great that you brought that up. So these rooms, you've been part of these rooms.
Yeah.
You're fortunate enough to be part of these networking events, part of these
Yes.
investment groups.
Yeah.
that you're in rooms that with people that have thousands of doors,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
people
Yeah.
that have
Literally.
500, 600, thousands.
Yeah.
Is that overwhelming? It could be a little overwhelming, right?
It's inspiring. It's inspiring because I get to just absorb the knowledge. I get to listen into these conversations and ask them these questions, right? Like, who did you need to be to get here? What was your thought process? What do you do on your days off? Right? What are you reading? What are you drinking? What are you eating? Because
Where are you working out?
yeah, tell me all.
Yeah.
There are people that are doing, crazy land development deals, right? That are taking on these massive projects. So to be fortunate enough to be in these rooms, like, who do I need to be? Like,
It's very
who have I
inspirational,
become?
right?
Right? Yeah.
It's
Because
very.
I told you before, Leo and I were the type of people that just hid in the back of the room. We never wanted to talk to anyone or to, how can I say, like, we were so shy. We were so
I
shy.
was shy too.
No
once,
way.
Once upon a time, I was shy.
Yeah.
I was shy.
But you got to step outside of that comfort zone, right? That is how you become greater than yourself.
And you know what? With the experiences that hit you, with the hurdles, with the trials and tribulations,
Yeah.
It makes you who you are,
Yeah.
right? And it either prepares you for success or it prepares you for failure.
Yeah.
And failure only happens, in my mind, when you give up.
Yes, that is, yeah.
So
Agreed.
if you're not giving up, you're just learning.
You are just learning. Because
You're just
everything,
learning.
you can pivot from everything. And I believe, too, if something stops you from moving forward, it's just telling you this is not working. Keep going. But most people will stop there and say, oh, that's it. It's not for me. I'm going to give up. But the minute you give up, you fail. Exactly.
And that's the thing, right? And being part of these groups have
Yeah.
inspired you and Leo.
Yeah, they have.
And you guys have done many real estate deals since then, and you're part of developments, and you're actually part of building your own development.
Yeah, and that story was crazy
and
because it's like it fell on our plate. It literally just landed.
And that's great. And but you're manifesting this. Like people don't. You're in the right rooms.
Yeah.
You're in the right places with the right people.
Yeah.
People say that that's luck. I don't believe in luck.
I agree. Me too.
I don't believe in luck. I believe in. I got up. I got dressed. I got ready, and I was ready and willing for any opportunity that knocks on my door.
I believe you create your own reality.
Yeah.
You create the things that you want in your life, and it's up to you and you only on how much you want to expand in your life, what you're open to receive and what you're closed off to. Because the minute we're closed off to things, we're energy. We give off a certain vibration. So your state of being, if it's happy, sad, angry, will give off a certain vibration. You will attract the things to you in which you
It's
are.
a certain aura that you give up. Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. And, knowing that what the other side's like and knowing what this side's like, I would always pick this side 100 times over the other side, because the other side is just energy grabbing, and it makes you start not eating well, not sleeping well, and
because you're controlled by circumstances.
Yeah.
We live thinking that everything outside of us, our job, our family, our this or that, the traffic, the weather, controls us. But it's us who controls us.
That's true.
If we don't give things a meaning, everything is neutral in this
100%.
world that we experience. It's the meaning that we give things.
That's true.
That affect how we are and how we show up every single day.
It's the spice that we add.
Hey!
Rice is rice without no spice. Add some spice.
I love that.
But that's amazing. You guys' story, you're inspirational. Leo's story is inspirational. What's next for you guys? What do you see in your foreseeable future? I know that you're trying to get your time. I know you're trying to free up your time. I know that you're trying to do some developments in the Caribbean.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes.
We could talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
How's that? Like, what are you guys doing in the Caribbean? We could talk a little bit about that. And then I want to know, what's the future like for you? We heard it from Leo.
Yeah.
Now I want to hear it from you.
Yes, okay. So I started another business called Inner Expansion, where I'm a mindset and self-image coach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I help people work on the image that they have of themselves, because we all hold an image of who we are in our minds. Okay? We
That's
believe
true.
certain things of how we are, our successes, our failures, and we live from this idea of who we think we are. But if we peel away the layers and really become our true selves, we're vulnerable, we love, we get inspired by life. We can create the things that we want most and
For
live a
sure.
beautiful, expansive life.
For sure, for
Right?
sure. And you know what? You going through the background of having the, you were a social worker and
Yeah.
you help people. It's very rewarding helping.
It is. It
It's
is.
rewarding
It's giving
helping
back.
people, yeah, giving back and helping people that are down on their luck, that would say down on their circumstance, right? And how helping them change their
Yes.
mindset,
It's,
right?
and all it is just a little shift.
Yeah.
If you can just see the world as half full and not half
Half
empty,
yeah.
it can make a big difference in someone's life.
Massive, massive
Right? That
difference.
transformation from within is so key. And I think more people need to understand how to make that mindset shift.
That's amazing. So you've started this.
Yes, I've started this and I love this work and I want to continue with this and grow my business alongside our real estate business, which is, I mean, I think for us ultimately is to build a multifamily. I think that would be incredible
From the ground up,
from the ground up. Yeah.
from the foundation up.
Yep.
Wow,
Yep.
that's-
Drawings, everything. Like
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And that's something that's, buying an old house, renovating it, that's like intermediate steps. Buying a multiplex, that's a couple levels above.
Yeah.
And now building,
Yeah.
that's a new beast.
I know that. Yeah, but
And-
I would say that's like I would say that would be our ultimate goal.
So how many units you thinking?
I don't know. It just depends on where we look.
Where you
12,
look. 12.
10,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
because we're creating homes. We're
100%. 100%. And we need them.
yes, yeah,
And we need them. And you're helping people. So with your mindset business, coaching business,
yeah.
are you going to be giving courses, or what do you plan on doing with that?
Right now, I'm doing one-on-one coaching,
One-on-one coaching.
and then I will move to group coaching and programs.
Okay, great.
I think public speaking is huge. I think if we can have the time to really understand ourselves, and if I could be the person who can go and share with other people that life is beautiful. We just have to be able to shift our mind, shift our perspective on how we see things, and life can be so much better.
And I think, a matter of fact, you got a speaking gig coming up, don't you?
Yes, I don't know if that's been revealed yet or not.
We'll keep it hush hush.
For now, okay.
But early
it's exciting.
January, you're
Yeah.
speaking somewhere.
Yes. I'm
I
looking forward
got
to
the
that.
inner scoop. We'll keep it hush hush for now.
I love
And
it.
we'll reveal once it's revealed.
Yes.
But that's amazing. So you've already started in your new business.
Yes.
You've already started speaking.
Yes.
You already started coaching,
Yes.
which is really rewarding.
It is. It
And
is.
are you planning on coaching people about the real estate aspect too, or just mindset?
I would think right now it would just be mindset,
Just
because I
mindset.
think everything comes from mindset.
100%.
Whatever you do, whether it is 9 to 5, whether it's through real estate, it comes with where your mind is at, right? How you see yourself. What do you want for your life? There's all these facets.
$1 million, 3
Yeah,
Porsches,
right,
4 Lamborghinis.
Right. But if you don't feel worthy enough to have it,
Yeah.
you're never going to do the things that's going to get you there. So how do
Exactly.
you start feeling worthy? How do you bring the love back to yourself? How do you get rid of the beliefs that you've held on to for 40, 30 years of your life?
Reprogramming yourself.
Yes. But people don't
Disconnecting
know how to
from the
do
matrix.
that, right?
and that it is difficult, and you need help with that kind of stuff. And I'm a testament that I got help from social
Do you have a
worker.
coach?
No, I had a
right now?
social worker.
Right.
I had a
Okay.
social worker help me and change my mindset. And everybody gets down sometimes.
Yeah, yes.
Especially this last year has been a little bit
Yeah.
tough and challenging.
Yeah.
With the rates going up and all the cost of everything going up.
Yeah, it can feel hard, right?
Mhm.
But if it's okay to feel the things, but are we staying there?
And that's the thing, right? Like, there always will be another day. The sun
Always.
will rise again.
Always.
And it may hail and snow one day, and the next day it's sunny, right?
Of course, life ebbs and flows. This is how it works. it goes in rhythms.
Exactly.
We have to just be ready when the downturn. Right now in real estate, what's happening? Right?
Real estate is tough right now.
It is.
You know, last year, the year before, anything you touch is 100, 200,000 above asking
Yeah.
price. And now it's like, okay,
Appraisals
we
were
got to
coming.
cancel properties and suspend properties and
Yeah, hold on to properties.
hold on to properties. And I love real estate when it's good, when it's bad. But when things are not working out, everyone is looking for someone to point the finger at.
Yes, yeah, it's the nature of the beast.
And it's not necessarily that person's fault.
Yeah,
It could be external factors in play,
of course,
right?
always.
But you know, how do you deal with it? How do you, you know, these are things that a coach like yourself would help someone. Like, how do you deal with this? You're having relationship problems. How do you deal with it?
Yeah.
You know, you're having financial problems. How do you deal with it? And most relationships now that have financial problems, it has a toll on the relationship.
Of course.
So,
Of course.
it disintegrates from there, right? The
Yeah.
money issues go into the family issues, they go into the kids,
Yeah.
and just split. And then, you know, the kids are the ones that suffer the most, right?
Yeah. But we can prevent all that. We can prevent all that by the person wanting more for their life. By saying, I'm not going to allow this one thing to, you know, fall apart. I can control this. I have the power to take this into my hands and make something out of it.
And it's 100% correct what you're saying. And you and Leo are a huge inspiration. I'm so happy to have both of you guys on.
Thank you.
And you guys are a huge inspiration, knowing that where he started and how you started together, being together for so long, since 17 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like, you guys are the OGs. I'm telling you, like, that's amazing. And hearing his story, I think this is the first time he's ever told anybody the story.
Yeah.
So hearing his story, hearing your story, it's gonna inspire our viewers. It's inspired me. I want to go buy some multifamily right
Let's
now.
go.
Let's go.
We found a new business
Let's
partner.
go shopping. I know a good-looking realtor. Just joking. Is that a prerequisite? But thank you so much for coming.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.